Winston Churchill, unmatched leadership during World War II. Winston Churchill is one of the most prominent and famous political leaders of the 20th century. A figure whose powerful speeches and unmatched courage played a crucial role in leading Britain and its allies during World War II. His life was full of unexpected twists and pivotal decisions. Churchill was not just a politician. He was also an accomplished writer, a skilled painter, and a man with a warrior spirit who never feared failure and was always on the lookout for new opportunities to succeed. Welcome to a new video on my channel. In today's video, we will delve into the turbulent life of this historical figure and hear some of his valuable and inspiring quotes. If you want to fully understand Churchill's story and lessons, make sure to stay with me until the end of the video. Winston Churchill, from childhood to endless success. Winston Leonard Spencer Churchill was born in 1874 into an aristocratic and political family in Britain. His family was one of the most prominent figures in British history, but his relationship with his parents, especially his mother, was always complicated and tense. Churchill's childhood was filled with turmoil and challenges, and he did not perform exceptionally well in school. He later acknowledged that he wasn't successful in formal education, but this did not mean he lacked intelligence or talent. Instead, Churchill learned in his own unique way and was always seeking real-life experiences. In his youth, Churchill joined the army and served as a soldier and war correspondent in places like India and Sudan. This period not only allowed him to develop military and strategic skills, but also helped his writing talent flourish. He wrote articles for newspapers, and these writings later became books that introduced him to society as a renowned writer. Next, you will hear some of Winston Churchill's valuable and inspiring quotes, which have continued to inspire generations. Success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Just as courage is necessary to stand and speak, it is also necessary to sit and listen. We are the masters of unspoken words and slaves of those who are allowed to speak. Don't wish for health and wealth, wish for good luck instead. Because on the Titanic, everyone was wealthy and healthy, but only a few were lucky. A pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity. An optimist sees opportunity in every difficulty. If you have enemies, that's good. It means you still stand for something in your life. People excel in keeping secrets they don't know. The greatest lesson in life is to know that sometimes fools are right. Continuous effort is the key to unlocking our potential, not power or intelligence. Continuous effort is the key to unlocking our potential, not power or intelligence. If you show fear in the face of danger and run, the danger will double. However, if you stand your ground and solve it without fear or trembling, you will be able to diminish it. To end an argument, simply say, "Perhaps you are right." That should be the last thing you say. We live in an era of great events and small people. Courage is truly the first human trait because it is the one that guarantees all other traits. Often change is necessary for improvement. This is not the time for comfort and ease, but for bravery and endurance. I like pigs. Dogs look down on us, cats look up to us, but pigs treat us like equals. If we create a conflict between the past and the present, we will realize that we have lost the future. I am never concerned about action, but rather about inaction. Human power has grown in all fields, except over itself, because power is like a drug. Once anyone tries it even once, they will be poisoned by it forever. We make a living from what we get, but we live from what we give. Winston Churchill, a symbol of resilience and victory after defeat. Winston Churchill, as someone who never feared failure, taught future generations that the greatest victories are achieved only through effort, perseverance, and faith. He famously said, "Success is the ability to go from one failure to another with no loss of enthusiasm." Churchill showed everyone that even in the darkest moments of life, one can still find light and hope. Churchill remained active until his last days and passed away in 1965 at the age of 90. Today we remember him not only as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, but is a symbol of resilience, courage, and selflessness. Churchill's life story demonstrates that people can turn failures into opportunities and change the course of history with their determination. If you enjoyed this video and found the inspiring lessons from Winston Churchill motivating, be sure to share your thoughts with us. Your feedback is incredibly valuable and helps us create better content for you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss a video. Remember, never fear failure. Each failure is a step toward success. Until the next video, stay successful and victorious.